Remember the joke that I mentioned a few videos ago about how Bushiroad has a hard-on for Dragon Empire, or maybe now, because she's the most popular character in the Vanguard this year? Well, I got a feeling we have gotten our answer, as I feel Dragon Empire in general in DCBT06 are really good, even with the one that we would consider it to be kinda alright. And I feel at the same time, I still don't understand why they have to really overtune this stupid boss unit and leave its prospect who debut from the same booster in a shit show. And yes, I'm talking about Gandiva, and I'll say this now, my condolences, Soul Iron Mints. And despite all that, I still feel the support is very disappointing. Why exactly is that? Well, that is exactly what I'm gonna be talking about today. So before we get into talking about the mask, let's talk about the reason why Gandiva see a drop in playability and meta competitiveness to begin with, because I already made a video talking about why Gandiva is broken. Well, it's the ban list. The ban list hits Staguna from a playset to 1, which literally speed down the deck's ability to bind face down harshly. That Gandiva reward for hitting many binds are no longer worth it, because it is just another turn 4 deck because of how fast it binds. But if that's a problem that you are actually looking into, well, I feel this card should fix the problem for you, as long as you're willing to jump into a fire, the Scarlet Fire that is, as we have the Scarlet Flame Ash Dragon, Gandeeva Masque. And seriously, I feel for all the Dark Form Dragon, stop turning the saturation down to 0. Like, seriously. Anyway, this unit has 5 different skills. I think this is the first time I see a unit that have a 5 different skill, but to be fair, 3 of the skill are a necessity to actually make Gandiva works, as we have the usual restriction for Masque where it can only be written from a grade 3 cards with Gandiva in its name, and then the usual Gandiva suspect skill where when your opponent rear card is retired during your turn, choose a card from your drop and you may bind face down, and during your turn, all of your front row unit gets power plus 2k for each face down card in your bind zone. But wait a minute, where is the crit skill? Is a crit something that Gandiva actually sacrifice? Of course it's not gonna sacrifice, as you can see with its self-removal skill, remove a card with Gandiva in its different card name from this unit from hand, soul, or drop, choose one of the original ability of the card removed by this card, activate it without paying its cost, and this unit get additional crit until end of turn. And then on top of that, they're still willing to give us one more skill where act once per turn, you can soul blast one to choose one of your opponent rare card and retire it. If you did not retire, you draw a card.
Cringe.
Well, look at this very irritating card. To put it in the simplest way possible, during your first grade 3 turn, you technically able to actually trigger the original Gandiva skill, the mass retire skill, twice. One from the original and one when you ride straight into Gandiva Masque to use the removal skill. On top of that, Bushiroad has a Gao to give this deck essentially a free 1 draw, because by the time you use the first 2 board wipe already, your opponent most likely has almost no regard left. So you can literally just Soul Blast 1 to get a free draw. How ridiculous is this? And to top it off, you technically can play this deck like an Omina Grigio, where you can just write from Gandiva Masque back to the original Gandiva to actually repeat the same process. Play the X skill of the original Gandiva first, go back into Masque, play it a second time, and then do the free draw 1 or retire, depend on the opponent boss situation.
Synergy.
In all fairness, some of you guys look at this and you might be saying, that's not helping Gandiva. But I feel you have to see it in the larger picture because of how the meta is right now. As in the current meta, almost every top deck has a way to remove their rare card in some ways, or at least by the end of turn, they have little to no rare cards on the field for Gandiva to actually take advantage of to get a lot of cards face down. But this card does fix that issue, as trigger Gandiva skill more than once is actually useful, considering the main weakness of Gandiva's board wipe is it is unable to retire the same grade unit. Some people might consider this lower than just play Ruguen, but there is some difference, as this allows you to build your bind at the speed of, I would say, in between Ruguen and Staguna. It is not back to its old glory yet, but I personally feel it is about there. Especially, you don't forget that you still get the personal right benefit from using Masque engine in general. And to make it sound more disgusting, if your opponent chooses to not leave any record on the field, and you manage to pull off the full Gandiva combo that I mentioned, you draw 3.
Genuinely disgusting.
So you don't even need best harvest anymore. At least that's in my opinion. But it does have its own disadvantage, as you are putting a mass engine, which is a very intrusive engine to begin with, as I said back in my Solaron video, into a deck that require you to bind your drop as fast as possible. So you do lose a lot of space to run cards like Rugen, Bolt Blamer, or any cards that help you to bind card face down, so you can get a much bigger boost from the Gandeeva skill. It is not the end of the world, but it is definitely binding a lot lesser than usual, but at least it is enough to close the game, and I think that's what they're trying to go for. But of course, I do have to say, the Gandeeva player do have to adjust their playstyle just a little bit to actually play this card. But do you know what is the most disappointing fact out of all of this? How lazy it feels for me.
What?
Like every mask unit at least have some kind of a variation in the way you play the mask version of the deck compared to the original, making it a bit more interesting and fun to actually play. This one is just Gandiva and Gandiva and Gandiva and Gandiva. Like I should feel like I'm playing something new like Gandiva Masque or something, but it is still just Gandiva. I don't really have this issue with any of the other masks I have played this before. So this is a weird feeling for me for sure. But regardless, it is a great support. It just feels like it is a little lazy in terms of designing it, as if they decided to smooth brain themselves and made this card. But what do you guys think? Do leave down in the comments below, and yeah, that's all I have for today. Take care of yourself, don't forget to click that sub and become a member for some cool perks. And this is Mac Mechanic signing out.